Welcome to the War Academy channel. The Roman Empire has been one of the greatest and most powerful empires of all time, being active for more than 500 years, since Augustus became emperor. During all these centuries, it was already in his republican stage, or from Augustus in his imperial time, Rome was always involved in bloody wars against all kinds of villages, whether it was on the defensive, or in the phase of new conquests. In today's program, we are going to make an analysis of which were the 5 most powerful and dangerous enemies of Imperial Rome, which was already at a timely moment, or for many centuries, they were bleeding to their legions. And each of the enemies that we are going to see below were like a hammer on an anvil, which was gradually cracked, until finally destroyed it. Made this presentation, let's start for the 5th position of our list, these being the Huns. This Hunno town, from Central Asia, broke into what we know today as Ukraine during the end of the 4th century after Christ, and with it, began to push a series of villages that settled in the area, towards the borders of the Roman Empire. It is precisely this element of provoking migrations in other villages, which in general terms more damage to the Romans, since it caused the number of Germanic tribes, which were pounced against their borders from centuries, was now increased. In any case, the direct confrontations between the Huns and the Eastern Roman Empire we began to have during the first half of the V century, when after defeating the Romans in some skirmishes, they began to receive increasingly larger payments, in exchange for peace. Everything was evolving in a more or less calm way, until in the year 439, the Huns began new incursions into the Eastern Empire, even besieging Constantinople. Emperor Theodosius again had to buy peace with huge amounts of gold. To these Hun attacks, we must add, as we have said, many other incursions from other peoples who were also threatened by the Huns, and who pounced on Rome. In any case, the real nightmare for the Romans began in the year 445, when Attila was crowned sole king of the Huns, after the death of his brother Bulda. Little by little, he began a series of campaigns that increased in intensity, until reaching the years of 451 and 452, in which desperate battles were fought in defense of the empire. It was in 452, when Attila sacked the entire north of the Italian peninsula, without the Roman general Aetius being able to stop him. After reaching the very gates of Rome, Attila decided to withdraw and not attack the city, the reason for this decision being something on which much has been speculated. Shortly thereafter, Attila died and would no longer be a direct threat to the Roman Empire, although the remnants of his great kingdom, now fragmented, each continued to attack and pressure him separately. Finally, we must bear in mind that the Huns arrived in a very bad time for the Romans, in which they were totally weakened. This can make us think that if he had reached the area for centuries before, when Rome was strong, its impact would not have been the same. We now go to the 4th position, whose role does not have to be more important than that of the Huns, but as we are going to see, they carried out an action, which has made them deserving of occupying this place. We are referring to the Visigoths. This town, I arrive at the borders of the Eastern Empire, a few decades before the Huns, carrying out these incursions precisely because they were pushed by them. In a similar way to what the Huns would do years later, they began looting the Eastern Empire, having one of their greatest successes in the Battle of Adrianopolis in 378, in which they even killed the Emperor Valenti, and much of his generals. Finally, the Visigoths secured a periodic payment from the Romans, and territories within the empire itself to settle. However, with the arrival of the new king Alaric in the year 395, they would resume their raids, this time reaching the Western Empire. After numerous campaigns that ended more or less in tables, by the year 410, they achieved their great goal, coming to plunder Rome itself. This event marked a before and after for the Romans, who saw for the first time in 800 years, how their most symbolic city was sacked. I leave you in the description a program in which we analyze this event in depth. After this, the Visigoths continued to be present in the Western Roman Empire until its end, sometimes being allies and sometimes enemies, occupying territories in what is now France and Spain. The next place on our list is occupied by barbarian tribes of all kinds, which since the time of Augustus with the famous ambush in Teutoburg, posed a constant threat to the empire. Without assessing all these tribes one by one, we have to see how as a whole, they demanded an enormous amount of soldiers, material, and resources. Although these barbarian raids were always present, it was around the time of Emperor Marcus Aurelius in the late 2nd century AD that they began to increase. During the following centuries, Rome was quite weakened, mainly due to civil wars, which made it more difficult to defend the borders of the empire. It was without a doubt, from the end of the 4th century, when the Romans were already unable to defend themselves, and took measures such as the abandonment of Britannia in order to defend the Rhine. In any case, huge groups of Alans, Vandals, Suevi, Alemanni, and Saxons, among many others, crossed the Rhine and the Danube, penetrating to the depths of Gaul, Hispania, and even reaching North Africa, without Rome being able to stop them. We now come to the threat that occupies our second position, which is generally forgotten and overshadowed by all the peoples just mentioned. We are referring, how could it be otherwise, to the Parthians. This threat was present during all the centuries, in which the powerful Rome was erected as the capital of the known world, and inflicted heavy defeats, either on Marcus Licinius Crassus himself at Carrhae, or during the reign of the famous Parthian king, Sapor. There were many Roman emperors who tried to quell this threat, such as Nero himself, Trajan, Marcus Aurelius, Severus, Valerian, Constantius or Julian. All of them had strong clashes against the Parthians, either defensively or trying to expand Roman influence in the area. Because these fights took place along the Tigris and Euphrates, they have not been as popular or alarming as others on the Rhine or Danube. But that does not mean that the continuous battles in this eastern region of the empire meant a continuous drip of blood for the Roman legions. Sometimes the campaign ended with a Roman victory, but all they did was buy some time for further Parthian attacks. One of the most important defeats occurred in the year 359, in which the Parthian troops of King Sapor annihilated 7 Roman legions in the city of Amida. Finally, the Romans were expelled from their territories in Mesopotamia and southern Armenia in the year 363. And now we move on to the worst threat that Rome undoubtedly had, which may surprise many of you. This enemy was none other than themselves, with their long and continuous civil wars that did nothing but wear down their military capacity, which at the same time had to face the different invasions. It is difficult to estimate which of all the civil wars that Rome suffered was the most disastrous, since there were many. But one of its most critical periods was during the first half of the 3rd century, in which instability was total. And it is that, on many occasions, the worst enemies of a kingdom or empire are not outside, but inside it. Years in which there were up to 4 emperors, secret betrayals, and attempted coups, and the arrest and execution of the last great Roman generals such as Stilicho and Aetius due to suspicion and envy, caused war of equal or greater magnitude than any foreign threat. Finally, say that the order of the last 4 positions on the list does not have to go from greater to lesser importance, and each one can establish their particular order. The only thing that I do set as more important is the one that occupies the first position. And what do you think? Do you think that the Imperial Rome that began with Augustus had a greater threat than the one we have mentioned? Do you consider that if it had not suffered so many internal divisions, the Roman Empire would have been active for more centuries? If you want to see some of the most iconic campaigns of Rome, I leave you in the description the video we made analyzing the Roman incursion into southern Egypt, and Alaric's sack of Rome in the year 410. And well, this video ends here. Thank you all very much, especially the sponsors who make this possible. Subscribe and share this program if you liked it, and see you in the next one. See you soon.